Welcome to my vlog. This is Aballe, and today we will be discussing about linguistics, particularly the famous Whorf hypothesis, or also known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. But before that, let us first have a brief background of the persons behind the controversial linguistic theory. The roots of Sapir-Whorf hypothesis lead back to Franz Boas, who is said to be the founder of anthropology in the United States and a pioneer of modern anthropology. He studied in Germany, and when he moved to United States, he encountered the Native American languages in many different linguistic families. This made him realize how many varieties of ways of life and grammatical categories between localities. Now it happened that Edward Sapir met Franz Boas in Columbia University while doing graduate work. So impressed by Boas' field of experiences and wide knowledge, Edward Sapir, who was one of the proponents of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, followed his track and developed an interest in anthropology. Edward Sapir was a prominent linguist and anthropologist, most widely famous for his contributions to the study of North American Indian languages. Originally, Sapir studied German linguistics because he was born in German Pomerania, which is now northern Poland, but he switched to anthropology because of his teacher, Franz Boas. Sapir was a field linguist documenting dozens of indigenous languages throughout the Americas and beyond. He always sought inferences about similarities and differences, as well as deeper historical relationships among the many languages and culture he encountered during his career. The stimulus of Sapir's writing was the assertion that language and culture are one and the same, and that humans are at the mercy of the language they spoke. Now let's move on to Benjamin Lee Whorf. Benjamin Lee Whorf was an American linguist, chemical engineer by training, and executive in New England Fire Insurance Company. When he studied in Yale University, he became the student of Edward Sapir and his protege. He was widely known as an advocate of the idea that because of linguistic differences in grammar and usage, speakers of different languages conceptualize and experience the world differently. Now I have a question for you. Are languages merely tools for expressing our thoughts, or do they actually shape the way we think? In an attempt to answer that, Whorf expounded Sapir's ideas on the relationship between language, culture, and thought. Thus, he developed the Whorf hypothesis, known also as Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Sapir-Whorf hypothesis can be broken down into two principles: the strong version, linguistic determinism, and the weak version, linguistic relativity. In linguistic determinism, language determines thought, and that linguistic categories limit and determine cognitive categories. It means that a person's view of reality only comes from his view from his language. However, in linguistic relativity, linguistic categories and usage influence thought and certain kinds of non-linguistic behavior. In other words, speakers of different languages think and perceive the world differently. Now let's hear the examples of Whorf. In 1940s, Whorf claimed that Hopi has a very different concept of time than English or other standard average European languages. Hopi was a language spoken by Native Americans in the pueblos of northeast Arizona. Whereas English objectifies time as a thing and treats it metaphorically as existing in space, Hopi preserves a more basic experience of the cyclicity of time as the process of becoming later. For example, in English, they stayed 10 days. In Hopi, they stayed until the 11th day. Oh, did you spot the difference? 10 days until the 11th day. Another example is the Inuits. Inuit Eskimos are the indigenous people in North America who share over 20 words for describing different types of snow. They can visually see the distinction because they have words to describe the distinction. For example, wet snow, clinging snow, frosty snow, hard-packed snow, falling snow, and so on and so forth. Last is the Apache. Apaches are members of a tribe of Native Americans, formerly nomadic or warlike, inhabiting the southwestern part of the United States. In Apache language, the verb ga means be white, including clear and colored and so on, with the prefix no, which means of downward motion or enters. Ho, meaning both water and spring, is prefix. Goga means clearing. However, the Apache word noka to goga means a dripping spring. As you have noticed, the result is different from the words that are combined. In Apache language, some words change meaning just by being stretched out a little longer. But since we are talking about hypotheses and this is the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, for my next blog, let's talk about the favored, the least favored idea, and other criticisms received by the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. That's all for now. I hope you learned from my discussions. Thank you and have a good day ahead.